I want to continue my discussion of the dividedness of America, but approach it from a little different angle. In the last segment, I talked about the University of Virginia's study about how far apart the two sides are today and seem to be pulling further apart. But now I want to approach the same topic by looking at something that Nikki Haley just said. Nikki Haley, former ambassador to the United Nations under Trump, and someone who's been on this podcast, and someone whose views I respect on foreign policy. Nikki Haley just spoke at the Ronald Reagan Foundation and Library, and she said that our problem is that we have, quote, national self-loathing. She goes on to say that stopping this national self-loathing is, quote, the most important mission of our time. Quoting her, "The barbarians of the world fear nothing more than a strong United States with the confidence and courage of our convictions." This is, by the way, a speech given in the Reaganite mode. If you remember Jeane Kirkpatrick talking about the Americans and we Americans and the anti-Americans. And Nikki Haley says Americans are, quote, plagued by self-doubt, a, quote, pandemic much more damaging than any virus. But I don't think that this kind of rhetoric really works anymore. But I want to try to put my finger on why. It's a little antique. It sounds off-key to me. Is it really the problem that we have a national, quote, self-loathing? Do we loathe ourselves collectively as a country? I don't think so. The problem is really something different. The problem is not that we loathe ourselves. In fact, even if you divide America into the right and the right doesn't loathe itself, and the left doesn't loathe itself. It's really more accurate to say that we loathe them and they loathe us. That is the very opposite of self-loathing. It's the loathing of the other guy and where they're trying to take us. So even in some ways, I think the rhetoric of that we use a lot on our side, even now, that they are anti-American, probably a rhetoric that Nikki Haley would go along. In fact, she says, that the idea that America is bad is, quote, the bedrock belief of the American left, that they don't believe in America. They've given up on America. But she doesn't mean America per se, because they too are Americans. They have only given up on our America. They've given up on traditional America. And they're not anti-American in the sense that they're just against anything that happens in America. They want to create their own America. They want to create a different America, and they are patriotic toward, you may say, their America. Let's take a moment to think of what their America would look like. It would be an America in which you'd have the vast majority of citizens essentially dependent on the state. Everybody would be they'd be lining up to get their food card and to get where can I go live? Where can I get my electricity? Where should I go work? If I work at all, there would be a one-party state. There would be essentially a Democratic Party and a Republican Party made up of sort of a bunch of Romneys who would essentially give pompous proclamations but never really do anything. So the left would be unquestionably in charge. You'd have a completely sexually permissive society. Anything goes. No restrictions in that area whatsoever. You'd have a racial hierarchy, but it would be the exact opposite of the past. You'd have a totem pole. Basically, blacks would be on the top. Hispanics would probably be in the middle. Whites and Asian Americans would be at the bottom. Everybody would worship the state. No one would really be going to church. Churches might exist, and they're probably going to be, the left-wing churches, of course, would be left alone. There'd probably be more mosques in America than churches, but the state would really be the object of. So this is their America. This is what they want. They don't want an America with strong nuclear families, decentralized authority, individualism. All of this would be kind of extinguished. So this is their America. They'd be very patriotic in that America. They'd be very willing to salute the rainbow flag. So when we talk today, as Nikki Haley does and so many other people do, about our American flag, well, we don't really have that kind of a unifying flag anymore. The other side doesn't like the flag. our national anthem. They don't want to sing the anthem. We can't really make them our founding fathers. Well, yeah, the founding fathers did found the country, but they're kind of like children who have repudiated their parents, who have demanded, if you will, liberation, emancipation from their parents. So Nikki Haley's rhetoric presumes a unity or a potential unity that I think doesn't even really exist. Now, David French in a yesterday I did a segment on David French. Debbie like, again, we're back to him. But David French put out, some studies in response to my video. In fact, he was saying something like, this video has a lot of mockery in it, and mockery is not an argument. That is often said by people who don't like being mocked. There's no reason mockery can't go along with argument. Consider Nietzsche. Wasn't he a philosopher? Yes, he was. Did he do a lot of mockery? Yes, he did. But let's come back to David French, because David French says, we agree on so much. What are we fighting about? And the point I want to make is we're fighting about the critical things. It's kind of like going to Martin Luther and the Reformation and saying, well, listen, why are you trying to break away from the church? I mean, you agree there's one God, right? You agree he made the world, right? So what are we fighting about? So the idea here is to minimize serious differences that go to the heart of things that are really important to people, and say, why are you pulling in opposite directions? This seems irrational to me. Because maybe those issues aren't so important to you, but they're very important to the people involved in them. So again, I don't think this dividedness is going away very easily. We can't wish it away. We can't produce a survey. Look, it doesn't really exist. The Reformation proceeded because the people in the Reformation felt strongly enough that the church had been taken over, had gone the wrong path. So it is with America. There are many of us on both sides of the aisle who don't want to really inhabit the other guy's home, the kind of America that the other side is determined to build. And so the question then becomes, can we amicably say, hey, guys, this isn't really working out. Let's either figure out a way to live separate lives in the same America, kind of like in the same house, or let's figure out a way for each of us to build our own rival utopia.